first of all, when we saw your paintings in Santa Fe, it was stunning. I sensed, well, there's a quality of real art, you know. It triggered something in me and all of us. That quality of heart. It takes you somewhere. You see it in other art, whether like music or the written word and poetry. There's a quality to it. The real artists, you know, because much of what we call art is on a different level. It comes from the head. It's like like you said, it's a lot of it is protesting. You know, it's people's anger coming out. It's valid on some level, but
I agree.
It you know, but art is something different. Art is like you said, the ultimate act of defiance, the ultimate protest.
The ultimate protest, yeah.
To make something so beautiful. And you can't really do that unless you're coming from that place in yourself, you know. Indigenous teachings, they talk about it, the 7 directions, where art is 6th direction, which is up. And it's really, you can't really get there unless you go through all the other directions. Like the 5th direction is down. It's like drama, emotion, you know, and it's like when you get to the bottom of it, you hit this ocean of grief. Yeah. And then something happens. The heart opens, and and sadness and joy is like the same thing. And the heart is the doorway out to different realms of perception. And whatever your expression is, you know, that's where you find the real artist. They call it the shamanic birth. It's the birth of that level of expression. And like a lot of our work is to get people there in some way, to get them out of their head. You know, you can study about an orange, for example, and like this outer skin, and you peel it off, and you get this spray and the fragrance with an inner skin. Then there's other little cells, you know, and you open it up and you can describe the flavors and stuff. And you can write volumes about it, never having tasted it.
Right.
You can never having tasted an orange, and yet, and you know, and you can be a professor, and it's you're very prestigious. You know, you're well known because you have a lot of knowledge, but you don't you've never necessarily tasted an orange.
Right.
Where a simple person just maybe can have an orange and they don't have the vocabulary, but they actually know what it is. Yeah. You know, and so I think that's like art. It's like actually penetrating, touching it, and it's that specific quality. Not everybody understands, but they somehow feel it, you know. Yeah. And like that magic in a beautiful song, you know, it transports you, it takes you somewhere. It's a portal, just like your paintings are a portal. It was like we could walk right into them. We got that feeling, you know, of being in a northern forest or beyond that. Even that lightness of a forest was a gateway to a different level of perception, you know. And that's how I see art. And your art is really art. Like it's true. It's the real thing.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Anyway.
You touched on something when you said people were too much in their head, too analytical, trying too hard to understand things. And it's sometimes beautiful to just let things just wash over you and not try to understand it. And that goes back to the analogy of the orange, which was very beautiful, by the way, the notion of the spray and the softness and the coldness. I think it was Brancusi, the sculptor, who said, when you think about a fish, you don't think about the individual scales. You think about the shape and the fastness of it and the reflection of it. So that experiential part, I think, is important. I like to say that painting is an intellectual endeavor, but every thought begins with a feeling. So it's so very important to feel something first. And that's sort of the platform from which I try to proceed, is from that initial feeling. What does it feel like? Whenever I look at a work of art or experience a work of art, that's the first question I ask myself. How does it make me feel? I don't want to think right away. I don't want to be told what to think. I want to feel something first. So that I think touches on what you were getting at before. You said something else which I really agree with strongly, is you mentioned the word sadness as maybe the bottom rung of those levels, and then lifting up from there. I happen to believe that all art comes from sadness. And I think it's important to define sadness as different from depression or misery. Sadness, a modicum of sadness, I think, is a legitimate part of any full life, because it allows you to experience your entire being. It allows you to feel fully alive. And there's a reason why it takes more muscles to frown than to smile, because we want to resist, anger or pain. And we want to resist it with the opposite of sadness, that we are survivors. And we want to push back against that. And I think that the ultimate protest is to put something beautiful out into the world, not just to fetishize anger, which a lot of artists do, and some of it's really good and some of it's not so good. But I think I think that a painting of flowers can be just as political and just as moving and just as complex as something that is much more, overtly angry. I think that's the ultimate protest, is to make something beautiful, and it's really hard to do.
The beauty is whatever repertoire of feelings that you may be feeling, either sadness or anger or something, but it comes also a moment where, at least when you are in a state of moving and you are meditating, you are a moving meditation. In that moment, when you're actually doing the creation or the creator, it comes with no really any feelings or no any thoughts. Like it comes just as I say, free of any point of reference. Just you become a clear vessel of beauty as a reflection of what we truly are. So the feelingness is just like an initiation of crossing certain portal, but the actual essence that at least the mystic dwells on it is in that place of you are creating from an empty space that has no feelings, no thoughts, nothing of you is there. You are just an empty vessel that the waterfall of beauty runs through you. So in my experience in creating mysticism and encountering those hidden corners or mysteries of oneself, we have to enter with the creative mode. Because you're not creating something physical, but you are creating yourself. And that is free in a way. You abandon the humanness and you enter some kind of divinity that is a play, is a play without playfulness. It's a play without any definition. It just is for what it is, and that is beautiful in itself. So is for me, art is just the point of entrance. And then I am in the zone, and from that zone, in my case, then it becomes the dwelling of who I am.
I liked what you said about the vessel or container as being the starting point. And there's a line from a very dear old friend of mine who's no longer with us named Samuel Minash. He was a New York poet. And he has a very simple line that says, "A pot poured out fulfills its spout." So the notion of the liquid in the container going through the spout becomes the shape of the spout. So I'd like to sort of take that further in the notion of what we do as painters, even as human beings, is we are containers. And I think it takes a lot of loving and living and loss to fill your container. And I think it's important to remember that a container not only protects stuff from the outside, but it keeps stuff on the inside. It protects things. And I think that's part of what we have to do as thinkers and feelers and creators, is to protect ourselves and to protect our time for work, and hopefully to offer that notion of protection to other people, so that when they feel that, they feel as if they're standing in your shoes at that moment, completely protected from the outside world, and are able to have a moment of true interaction, of true communication. And that's what I love so much about painting, because when you look at a painting, you're standing in the exact spot that the painter did when they put each little skin of color on the canvas, so that hundreds of years evaporate, and I'm standing where Vincent van Gogh sat or stood when he put those little things down and created magic on a flat surface. And it's the most exciting thing in the world to me.
Yeah, and the container is we tend to think that the container is something physical, but really what we are containing is the energy of the heart, as what Matthew was saying.
Yes.
Is how we learn through art to contain the heart, so we have the strong courage and decision to be ourselves more fully, to be more the heart more fully. And really with that moment, everything we create, the creator, and the creator create creativity, and it can form any art that you want. So it isn't that a step forward than when we say, okay, how I am containing my heart. Yeah. What is the commitment that I am putting myself, and first having a physical containing my room, my cave, my nature, whatever it is, but how really I am able to open the space to contain something that is uncontainable and that is shared by everybody. So as we contain ourselves, we are actually helping or offering a template of energy to come to contain others. So as a teacher is basically that. If my heart is contained, if my heart is alive, if my heart is being obeyed by what I know I need to do, I immediately contain anyone that is around me. Immediately everything, it becomes safe, it becomes protected, it becomes important, it becomes meaningful, it becomes deep and joyful.
Yes.
So if art doesn't come from the heart, it loses purpose.
Yeah, it must. And I sometimes feel embarrassed when I'm looking at a painting, because the feelings that I thought were my own are really those of someone else, but I recognize them. And that's the important thing, is that moment of recognition. You recognize something that you've never seen before. You recognize something that we share in common. And it doesn't matter where we are in the world or throughout time, you recognize another human being. I think art was born the moment one human being made an image of another human being in those caves in Ice Age France 28,000 years ago. Certainly they had seen their reflections in water before, but it wasn't until one made an image of someone else that art was born. Because I think art is a way to participate without any implications, that you can share and you can stare at another human being and look into their heart. And I think that's so very important and so very old. You know, what we do is very, very old. And it's really an honor and humbling to be a part of that long chain of this work in progress, you know, that we call, you know, humanity, the arts and the humanities.
Yeah, and the fascination of that when you see your heart, that is exactly the same as the other person, but he have this unique trajectory. So it's that paradox in the art and in the mysticism that you see the heart that is yours in the other, but also because each one have a unique trajectory, you see the difference. And that's the fascination, that you feel the attraction and the mystery and the curiosity and the enthusiasm of you're linked, but at the same time you're merging in your own differences. And it happens through time, because it's the same phenomenon. We are built to connect heart to heart in whatever expression we are. So with that, then it becomes the fulfillment of our own uniqueness, feeling accepted, feeling acknowledged, and at the same time feeling that, oh, there is somebody that is back, giving me that feedback. I am the same. I am the same. I am not alone. And that is a profound thing in our times, because without the heart, then we will know what we belong to. We won't know to who or to what to connect. And in that moment, we're exposed and we are easy to corrupt, and we are easily to lose track of any real connection that is basic for survival, really.
And you hit on something very, I think, profound when you said that the notion that you are not alone. And I think that is art's primary message, to say that you are not alone because another human being was here. And another thing you mentioned, which I liked, was the notion of mystery. It was Francis Bacon, the great English or Irish painter, who said that the purpose of art is always to deepen the mystery. And I think, you know, how many other places in the world can we go and look at something and then just say, I feel something, but I can't explain it, or I don't know. Those are three of the most beautiful words I can think of. I don't know. We don't have to know everything. We don't have to explain everything. And that's a problem, I think, a lot of people who come to a work of art, especially if something's more abstracted or not instantly representational, they feel like they have to get it. And that's so not the point, that you don't have to get it. You don't have to understand everything, that you can just let it wash over you, like Matthew's orange, that you can just immerse yourself in experience and just feel fully alive, even for a moment. And I think that's an artist's job, is to make people feel more alive.
Yeah, and to have the person cross the border of transmission, the language as something that is more transmission without the words, and that's something that in mysticism is so profound, because it doesn't matter what I say, is the transmission of the words that is going to touch you, that is going to transform you, that is going to think about the different point of view of your perspective. And people are refusing to use that muscle, because in the moment they accept the transmission, they have to accept their own heart, their own faculty of the heart that say, I am also transmitting. And that is something that people have hard time on it. It's just to be seen as what they are, for what they are and what they are at. And they don't accept the transmission. So in that way, art and any mystic expression, shamanic expression is based in transmission. It has to be in transmission, because it's a language of the heart. It's a silent wave that touch the very fiber of our humanity beyond the language. The language is just one track, but in the arts and in the artistic showing up of ourselves, it's just transmission. It's just it's all that it is. So that language, inevitable in the future, have to be part of how we communicate, have to do with the development of the full brain of our telepathy, our intuition, our sense of feeling right where we are, feeling right where we're doing, obeying that heart is only happens when we accept that we transmit, and there are transmissions always at all times.
Yes.
And beyond time.
Yes. Yeah, and I try to touch on some of those thoughts and feelings in the videos that I do on YouTube. And I try to kick open the studio door and invite people in and talk to them as you and I are speaking right now, like one-to-one, if we were having a beer and just talking to each other. And I try to show people, you know, I take the mystery and all of the stuff away, and I strip it away and try to show people what I do and how I do it. Those are the two tenets from which I expound on those in those videos. And what's been a great thing, and it's taught me so much, is after 70 of those, I get to communicate with people all over the world who share the same thoughts and say, you know, it's great to just see an artist working and get a glimpse into what an artist's life looks like. And that it's not, you know, anything, you know, completely impenetrable or pretentious or, you know, way out there. That it's just, you come to your studio every day, you lock the door and you putter around, and then you start, you know, communing with the muse, you know, with that train that's always here. But the more you work, the more quickly you're able to tap into that. And I think it takes just sheer flight hours. It just takes time to be able to do that. And that's why it's so important to be patient as a painter, as an artist, that it takes a long time to do this.
I love in the videos how you use the reality of the senses. Like even when we are not, we're watching the video, but you're still making a statement about the food, about the edible aspect of the art, of the painting. And so you kind of touch all the fibers that whatever you are, you have something that, and you can see that in your paintings too. Like they're so edible. They are
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah.
They're so rich, and in the sense that whatever sense that you are strong on it, you are gonna touch that, and that creates the bounding, and it creates the curiosity and the fulfillment. As I say, it's you feed me. And I feel fed by looking at it. I feel moved. I feel inspired. I feel relaxed. I feel that is somebody understanding the language of the unknown in a very, I don't want to say sensational, but is with all the senses that it's complete. So I love the videos because you have the different tracks going on, you know, the different things that any human can relate in the multi ways, in multiple ways. Yeah.
And I think they're about kindness also, Berdhanya. I think it's so very important to be kind. And I try to teach that to my kids, and I try to make that come through in the videos, that when I click that video camera on, I'm saying that you and I are going to be friends, and I'm going to bring you into my world and show you what I do and how I do these things, and feel like we're friends. And I think that's so important to be able to do that. And, you know, YouTube and technology is such a beautiful thing for us. It's made the whole world better. YouTube, you know, everything is better. If you want to buy a mattress, you go to YouTube and research it. If you want to learn how to bowl, you can go to YouTube and learn that. Everything seems to be better. And I think it's a great way to reach a very large audience and shrink it down to exactly what we're doing. Two people looking at each other, at eyes, you know?
So
thank you. I'm glad that those things come through.
Oh, absolutely, it does. Yes, yes.